In this video I'm going to do a conversion from colour to black and white in Adobe Lightroom and share a few little tips that I've picked up along the way. Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. So for the last few days I've not been able to get out as much as I would have liked, but it has given me an opportunity to have a look back through some images from earlier in the year, and I found one that I actually think might look really nice converted to black and white. I think converting it to black and white will completely change the mood and the atmosphere of the image. So what I thought I would do is do that conversion in Lightroom, share it with you, see how it works out, because I haven't done it yet, and along the way I'll just share a few sort of little tips that I've picked up about black and white conversion, which hopefully you'll find interesting. I hope you'll enjoy the video. If you do, and you're not already a subscriber, then please consider hitting the subscribe button. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Anyway, let's go and have a look at the image that I'm going to convert, which is this one. So this image was shot way back in March of this year at a place called Barranco de la Encantada, or Enchanted Gorge. And I actually think it makes quite a nice, bright, colourful image. I mean, there's some really vibrant tones in there, but it's certainly got very little in the way of drama in it. And I actually think as a black and white, it could look quite dramatic. So I thought, let's do a quick conversion on it and see what it looks like. So let's jump into Lightroom and have a look. Okay, so let's take the image, and what I'm going to do is I'll create a virtual copy of this now, so that I'm not affecting my original. Take it into the develop module. So the first thing that I know about this image is that I want the water, the river, to be very dark, almost black. Now I've got quite dark green tones in the sort of midground, but it's quite bright in the foreground. I also know that I want the sky to be more contrasty, so I'm going to want the blues to look darker. And then the rest of it is going to be sort of brighter, and that's going to create the contrast in here. So now that I know roughly what I want to do, I'm actually going to start off by doing a little edit on this colour version. And I'm going to take a brush, and I'm going to pull back exposure, highlights and whites, and also I'm going to adjust the tint all the way down into the green. And I'm just going to brush in this bit here and make it greener and darker. Now if you're wondering why I'm bothering to adjust the colour, hopefully that should become clear later, if this works. Just being a bit careful around this sort of transition point here, don't want it to look too bad. But I think I can pull the exposure, highlights and whites back even more. There's still quite a bright patch here, so I'm going to take a new brush and just kind of paint that in, and that's too much. Just kind of paint that in a bit more there, making it all quite dark. Now I'm ready for my black and white conversion. So basics and convert to black and white. And you can see by doing that brushing in that I did, I've now got a much more uniform tone in the river here. I'm actually going to add a little bit of contrast to the scene globally. About there. Not too much, because I'm actually going to do something more with contrast in a minute. And then I'm going to go into the black and white sliders, and I'm going to make the greens even darker. So pull that back, you can see that's making the greens go almost black. Now we've got to be careful, because if you go too far on these sliders you can get fringing and edging, particularly because I've got greens up here in the trees. So typically I find if I keep it sort of less than 30 it works okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the blues to darken the sky a bit. Yeah, about there. And now I'm going to add even more contrast with a tone curve. And I think I can play this really simple and just use one of the presets, like a medium contrast curve. And that's looking quite contrasty now. I think we can put in a post-crop vignette. Now normally when I do a vignette I'll go down to sort of maybe 9, 10, 11, but I think with black and white and a scene like this I can go more extreme. But I'm going to go for a slightly smaller view because it's easier to see the effect of the vignette if I do that. So I'm going to pull that. I think we can go right down to about there. Now the only thing is that's put a bit too much shadow, particularly in this tree here. So I'm going to put in a graduated filter, double click to take the effect out, and all I'm going to do is lift the shadows in there. That's a bit better. And then a radial filter, specifically over the tree, and lift the shadows there. Just brings a bit more detail back in. Maybe even just lift the exposure a little tiny bit as well. Pull the highlights back a bit. Yeah. And then the real little tip that I like to include here is the split toning. Because black and white looks nice, but if we add just a hint of colour in, it can look a little bit more interesting. And what I tend to find is a hue somewhere around the mid 230s and a saturation somewhere around the mid-teens, so sort of something like 235 and 15, 14, something like that. 234 and 14, and the same on the shadows. Just adds an interesting effect to it. Just makes it look a little bit different. And I think that is now a very different looking image to that one. Completely different mood and feel to it. I hope you agree. So that's it. That's my black and white conversion and the little tips that I've picked up along the way. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please consider giving it a like or a share or both. And of course I'd love to hear from you. What do you think of the black and white image? What do you think of the process that I've used? Have you got some other tips you'd like to share with people? Comments down below. And that's it. As always, I appreciate you taking the time to watch, so thank you very much. And until the next video, bye.